Okay, the intention of this video, which is going out live, okay, is to show you clips from American Horror Story, which came out a couple years ago after the election. It is about a murder cult. It's not really about politics. Okay, it takes place around the time that Trump's elected. Some could consider it anti-Trump, but I think it goes beyond that. Even if you're for Trump, you should see the point in the film. It's more about a murder cult, less about Trump, I think, and just the modern world itself and how people can be pulled into cults. So what caught my eye were several different episodes within, I believe, the cult season. I'm not into the other seasons, only in the cult season, including election night, which is one of the episodes, I believe. Okay. And so I'm going to be making sure that we're live and that the videos are being shown. And then I'm going to look after the live stream to make sure that the videos that I intend to show are being shown. There was another video that was done for 3 hours that was meant to feature the voice of a dying man. His name was Michael Rupert. Okay. Now, for whatever reason, that video is not there. These videos that I'm about to show you, I have not previewed. I'm pretty much doing this on the fly, but I've been thinking about bringing this to you for some time. And why is that? Okay, we're live. Because we are living in a world where there is a very strong anti-woman sentiment and a very strong anti-man sentiment. And that we can see through pop culture at times, art imitating life. Sometimes it's a conspiracy. They're hashtag programming us for what's coming next. In some cases, we're being warned. It's not clear necessarily through pop culture which one it is. So I don't know how long we're going to be live tonight. I've already been live for many, many hours. But I really have nothing else that I feel drawn to do. And some nights are not nights for me to be out and about with the general public, but only here with you. When we look up, of course, this topic, like other topics, we can see many men with their perspectives and their concerns about the misandry, the anti-man message. But I feel and suspect that modern young women that are being led towards the lesbian lifestyle are being led towards misandry. And what I can see from my audience online is that there's definitely an anti-godly, anti-psychic man, anti-spiritual athletic man, anti a lot of things that I stand for. And those things I pay attention to. I pay attention to those things. And so Valerie Solanas, I believe, is the character. We have now 3 people watching. Let us now begin this clip. I have not yet watched this clip, but I believe this is a mashup clip, I suspect, sense from YouTube, and that we can play it. All right? So it's a manifesto that she's writing in the 60s.
I dedicate this play to me, a continuous source of strength and guidance, and without whose unflinching loyalty and devotion and faith, this play would never have been written.
We're going to pause this. That video does appear to be one that is almost a tribute to Valerie. So it would actually take me more time to flush that out. We're 3 minutes in. I'm doing this without perfect lighting, but it's very important that I just share this in light of the things that are developing in the news. And what is developing in the news? Unfortunately, we see an increase in violence against women. And we don't necessarily see an understanding. There's a lot of videos on this topic on YouTube. And I'm looking for something that is just a simple montage, mashup of clips from the actual show, not other YouTube channels. So there's a lot to go through here. But the way that movies work, the way that cinema works, is that people can be mesmerized by violence, even if it is being done from a villain. So there could be an argument, for example, in a show or a movie coming from a villain, but it could actually be scripted by design to match the sediments of the actual population, to get them to, by design, associate with the villains. This is done in professional wrestling. And then there's a little clip here. There definitely is a lot of content that has been inspired on YouTube. That is a tribute to this Valerie character. And so we live in a world, as I said in other videos, in which men and women alive today, they are witnessing extreme acts of brutality. And this affects young people. And so it seems that like revenge, and there's the whole spirit about that, is inside our DNA, inside our cells, and movies definitely play a role in that. This is a 30-second clip. And so I'm going to go ahead and try to find that now.
I've been expecting you. Blood. You need to trust me. Men always push the women aside. Can I count on you?
I know what it means to assassinate a man.
American Horror Story, Cult, all new, next Tuesday at 10 on FX and FX Now.
I'm going to find a clip from the movie now, but it seems that let's see. Give me a moment here. Give me a moment. The difficult thing with YouTube is that sometimes it promotes content that's very low quality at the top, rather than what you're actually looking for. So it could be very, very nerve-wracking to be doing a show by yourself and to not be able to work with a team, because you got to go through all this. And I really only have so much time. What I found is a recap video by a woman who's talking about the plot.
Bought some bullets to shoot Andy Warhol. HE's lost the only copy of her play, Up the Ass, and has generally dismissed her, so she wants to take her revenge. An in-depth historical analysis, and by that I mean skimming Wikipedia and falling asleep to I Shot Andy Warhol when it played on IFC, shows that all of this is true. Solanas did write the SCUM manifesto, shoot Warhol, go to a home for the criminally insane, and die alone in San Francisco in 1988, a little more than a year before Warhol's own death. Now that Ryan Murphy has given Marcia Clark a feminist redemption, it seems like he is trying to do the same with Solanas. At first, I was there for it. Here is a mentally ill woman who was abused and widely dismissed by men. And her philosophy is not entirely wrong. As she rants again and again in the episode, all of the world's problems are caused by men. If only for that, it's probably time that we reconsider Solanas and her memory. It was so sad when Solanas imagines her bête noire Warhol sabotaging her work in her room. Even now, when they hear the name Valerie Solanas, they think Andy Warhol. She tells him, "You've taken my work. You've taken my life. You've taken my legacy. This echoes the sentiment we heard last episode about how cults are really a reaction by the patriarchy whenever women get too much power. Here was a woman who was trying to put an end to the cult of Warhol and the patriarchy all at once. But she did it, at least in this recounting, by starting a cult of her own. We learn this from Bebe Babbitt Frances Conroy, who says that she was Valerie's most devoted acolyte and lover. She also
No, women can't be serious artists.
That was, of course, Evan Peters playing Andy Warhol, and Lena Dunham making her one-episode cameo on American Horror Story Cult this season. Now, Greg is out of town this week. Actually, he's just dealing with his fear of clowns, but I promise he'll be back next week. I'm going to break down episode 7 of American Horror Story Cult, but first, be sure you subscribe because you don't want to miss any of these breakdowns that we do week to week, as well as breakdowns on Mr. Robot, who was a radical feminist who wrote the SCUM Manifesto. That stood for the Society for Cutting Up Men. The book argued that men are inferior to women and thus responsible for everything wrong with the world. And Valerie actually met Warhol in 1967. She had a play that she wanted him to make, but it never happened. She pretty much blamed him for sabotaging the project. Eventually, this led to her shooting Warhol in 1968 at the factory, and yes, she missed twice before actually injuring him. Warhol, of course, survived, and she turned herself in and spent a few years in a mental institution before passing away years later. Ryan Murphy said that the goal of this episode was to explore female rage then and in the country now, and he pretty much succeeded. What's most frightening about this whole episode is that it tackles a social problem that is still very topical today. The Harvey Weinstein sexual assault scandal is an eerie reminder. Again, a filmmaker is abusing his vast power and position to prey on those below him.
You've taken my art. You've taken my life. You've taken my legacy.
Who are you kidding? Shooting me will be the only thing you'll be remembered for. I am your legacy.
This line really stuck out to me because we heard something similar last episode about how cults are really a reaction by the patriarchy whenever women get too much power.
Well, I'm not surprised. This is the kind of shit that happens whenever the patriarchy is threatened. Manson was a product of the 60s. Women's lib, the pill. Jim Jones, too. It's no coincidence that Koresh went up against Janet Reno.
Valerie Solanas was fed up with the cult of Warhol and the patriarchy as well, and this led to her forming her own cult. So why include this in an episode of American Horror Story Cult? Well, obviously cult's in the title, and this cult is an obvious parallel to Kai's cult. Beverly is currently going through the exact emotions that Valerie did decades before. She's not too happy with what he's become. She thought this was a 50-50 venture, but it's clearly not.
What happened to setting the world on fire? We agreed to equal power. That's not what this feels like.
You need to trust me.
Coincidentally, she runs into Bebe Babbitt, or maybe it's not a coincidence after all. Bebe is played by American Horror Story vet Frances Conroy, who was a devoted follower of Valerie Solanas. Babbitt calls Beverly on what she is, a puppet, and then she shares Valerie's story with Ivy, Winter, and Beverly. Now, if you're a big-time fan of American Horror Story, I know you definitely noticed another cameo here. That's, of course, Jamie Brewer, who's playing one of Valerie's followers, and I believe this is her 5th appearance on the show. Now, this is when the episode takes some liberties with the story. See, Bebe claims that Valerie's cult was, in fact, the Zodiac Killer. Seriously, the Zodiac serial killer.
Now I'm going to pause here. Hopefully this won't get us shut down. This tab here, and this is going better than the last video. You're at least seeing the video. Again, you're meant to see videos when I do these, so I just got to pay attention. This is another episode within the series, within the season. I don't like the other seasons. I think they're crap. It was only the cult season that I felt had a lot of predictive programming in it worth sharing with you. So we have the anti-man episode in which they take the patriarchal stuff, which he just talked about, and it's used against men, and they're killing couples. And I want to show you scenes from that. We haven't found them yet, but they're likely to get pulled from YouTube. So I can only show you a few seconds at a time. This is an example of like what is depicted in mainstream media of basically the Illuminati following the Dajjal or the Antichrist, which is manifesting in the show through this video, through this guy, this character known as Michael, who's basically the supernatural satanic being. This is the 9th episode in that season. All right. We'll take a look at that. So basically, the anti-woman, anti-man agenda is part of their agenda. Right? New World Order, apocalypse.
Esteemed members of
the elite. So he's giving them a speech, and they're wearing masks. So this is highly metaphoric, in plain sight.
cooperative. World leaders, tech giants, media moguls, and cultural influencers. The rumors you've heard are true. My name is Michael Langdon, and I am the Antichrist.
Okay, pause it for a minute. As many people's attention are on the cell phones, which the Antichrist will control. So the evil one will command
humanity,
the attention of many.
He is at a crossroads. The world as it is today, the poverty, the hunger, the greed and war.
The anti-man, the anti-woman sentiments.
It's no longer sustainable. The time has come
to... And how could they get us to depopulate? How could they bring down the numbers without just coming around in the open? They would get us to do it to each other, or through events that they create and control. This right here is a robot. That is not a real human. That is a robot that they designed in advance for the day in which they would need a bot to carry out orders that a human could not. There's all types of micro stuff that was embedded within here.
wipe the slate clean.
Wipe the slate clean.
Friends,
Friend,
it's time for the apocalypse.
it's time for today.
I understand your trepidation. But
here is your menu item. Here is what's on the menu.
Let me remind you that you are here because of the
Here's what's on the timeline.
Gifts bestowed upon you by my father. In return, you gave him your immortal souls. He owns you. Therefore, I own you. We speak with one voice, and my demands are his. Now, as you'll see from the handy guide provided by my associate, I do not intend to leave you and your families to die. When fire rains down on the unwashed masses, you and your families will be safely squirreled away in a network of luxury fallout shelters. You already have the resources. You just bought land on New Zealand's South Island. You own half of Bora Bora. The bunker underneath your ranch in Texas could easily fit 20 people. With a little construction and some retrofitting, these sites will make the perfect outposts to ride out the end of the world. And with the admission price of $100 million, only the worthy will gain admission. Turn to page 6, section 1, outpost construction.
One of Nicole's lesser successes. It's gonna be awesome.
Kai's your king. Don't you think that's a little too much?
What do you know about that thing? Are we early?
No, you're right on time.
You were supposed to get Kai. Where's everybody?
The surprise is you're the guest of honor.
The male likes death. It excites him sexually. And already dead inside, he wants to die.
Who's this crazy bitch?
Basically, we're asking you about. They were all in the cult together, that guy and them. And what happened was, and I don't have like set up the scenes, but basically, this Kai was like the Nazi guy who started the cult. Then some female came in. And it's like, oh, let's change the focus. Let's like create like an anti-man cult and shit. but he's like trying to master manipulate it to like use the anti-man cult to then turn it against the women. It's like pretty sophisticated, the plot line. Stay with me here. I'm saying in real life on my show, there's an evil one creating the anti-man agenda and creates an anti-woman agenda to then get rid of us. And this show is showing a similar thinking in the villain strategy. You understand? And so it's through this oppression of this group that the other group then reacts and creates their own counter cult. Anyway, in the end, the whole thing's a murder cult. And this is an example of them surrounding the guy, even though they're all in the same murder cult together. Then it shifts to killing the men. You see? So you could even argue, one could argue from a Gnostic philosophical level, that the different scenes happening with an American Horror Story, these are micros of the macro. Let's go back to the clip. And then we'll go back to the other guy that was doing analysis on figure out what he.
Jesus. What do you want from me?
Answers.
Okay.
What happened in Meadow?
Kai wanted Allie to save her. So I let her do it. I didn't know she was going to blow her own brains out.
You should have known. You were her husband, and you let her be manipulated.
Oh, now you want to talk about protecting our wives?
I just drove my wife crazy. I didn't get her killed.
Her death had more meaning than any moment in her pathetic life. And you know that. And this is all Kai. Kai's the genius. He's the author of everything.
What about men lead, women bleed? You came up with that.
What? No, I didn't.
Even if you just said it to impress your new SS wannabe boyfriends, it's disgusting.
I never said it!
Now would be the time to deny it. Not that we would ever believe you. You, of all people, know what it's like to be marginalized, pushed out. You're a gay man.
I'm a man!
We are scum!
Put him out of his misery. This is Beverly Hope reporting. Violence has erupted in Brookfield Heights once again with the macabre murder of Funtime fitness gym trainer Harrison Wilton. Pieces of Mr. Wilton's dismembered corpse were found by joggers early this morning. Placed.
And of course, she's a part of it. The girl who's on the news is a part of the cult. So they're throwing that too. So the person on the news that you think you can trust is a part of the fucking cult.
In a grisly arrangement. The body was covered in a film of scum from the pond behind me. Police have yet to determine a motive, but due to the gruesome nature of the crime, believe the killing could be in retaliation to the shooting committed by the victim's wife, Meadow Wilton. Clearly, the promise of law and order in Brookfield Heights is not being kept. I can only pray this latest murder is not a sign of things to come. This is Beverly Hope. Back to you in the studio.
They're at their best when they're angry. Don't you think?
Aren't we all?
So this scene indicates that they're in a conspiracy. The radical right-wing Nazi-esque Kai character is with the woman who started the anti-man cult. You see, so in the end, they're looking at each other with nefarious agendas in their hearts to bring bad shit to men and women. You see what I'm saying? This is actually quite deep. And that's what's happening in the demonic realms. We have 4 people watching. Welcome. So here we have 2 humans looking at each other, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They're going to create some shit that's going to set their cult leaders on a path to hell for themselves and others. We are live and we are seeing the video, so we're just going to keep streaming. So there's a time in which this Kai character,
everyone's losing their shit. It's like we went to a wedding or into a funeral.
Who I consider to be a hater of mine, but not quite, because Kai was an actual cult leader, not just a YouTuber. But it was the sociopathic personality type. You know what I mean? It was the right-wing talking points, You know what I mean? It was that 2015, 16, 17, 18 attitude of conveniently playing the victim and then working the algorithm and then getting retweeted by Eric Trump. Like he's talking about getting retweeted in the episode. Like they play professional victims, yet they have a complete high-tech, big tech media apparatus that basically promotes their bullshit, as well as left-wing woke stuff too, but not just that. I've been around the block and I've seen the real internet and how it can radicalize people. And there's stuff in the episode about him telling people about you need to learn to code and things of that nature. And you look at what engineers at Google and coders have done to warp the internet. A lot of Satanism, a lot of hate, a lot of manipulation, a lot of dark programming on all sides. And a lot of people can't hear that. They can only speak from an anti-left wing, anti-woke perspective. They can't talk about the right wing chat GPTs that hate non-white people. They can't talk about the real racism. And that's pretty messed up. You should, if you want to stand up for white people, stand up against white genocide. You should stand up against the racist aspects of the machine that would like to encourage you to start screaming inward every few seconds.
I gave a year of our lives to this. I dropped out of
This is election night. And in election night, for example, it features the horror story like film, like the horror story like demeanor and tone and energy and vibration of that moment in time, in which people were very much concerned that their worst nightmare would manifest after that election. And I lived through some hard years, no doubt, during the Trump years, and lost a lot of friends for not jerking him off and for challenging the official narrative. Same thing with Obama. Same thing with Bush. Same thing with Biden. By not getting in line with either the left and the right, I've lost a lot of friends and potential donations and girlfriends by not picking either the left or the right. It's a lonely road to walk. But again, this scene that we're watching is from one of the first episodes of that season, highlighting the cult-like direction that Kai was going in and how it was scaring his sister. But she quickly, even though she was scared, was pulled into his cult. It looks like the video has been edited to change the speed to allow it on YouTube.
Vassar. Why would they send us to Florida when we should have been in Wisconsin? What if I get pregnant now? Where will I get an abortion?
I know. Everyone's upset.
God. And what is wrong with CNN for not giving us a trigger warning before they announce the results? I don't know what's real anymore. She was supposed to win. Is this really happening? Oh my God.
You're kind of scaring me right now, Winter. You cannot self-harm again. Oh, don't go back down that road. Winter?
Jeez. You're such an asshole. Did you come in here to rub it in? Get out! Get out!
Was Valerie Solanas' cult. That happened.
I've seen that Fincher movie like 50 times. It's my baby Einstein. You didn't kill them, the Zodiac did.
Haven't you been listening in, Great? That was Valerie's plan all along. We were the Zodiac.
Winter, I love your taste in movies. Zodiac was an awesome film, but there's no proof that this actually happened. Just to clear that up, guys. The show is just having some fun, offering an alternate theory on the identity of the Zodiac killer. Let's not take it too serious. What is serious, though, is that BB's pep talk really fuels the women of the cult to strike back. And that's bad news for Harrison. What the fuck happened to Ivy?
We go 0 to 100 real quick.
A few episodes ago, she was getting claustrophobic with a mask on. Now she's